Hey parents, it's Eric here, high school pastor at Hillside. Take two on this video because everything you're about to hear me say, I have already said it once, but I forgot to hit record. So hopefully I got some practice in and hopefully I can make this even a little bit shorter and more to the point. I'm here to talk to you about our summer mission trip, give you guys the details. I've been able to communicate some of these details to your students already, let them know exactly what the trip is going to look like, but I think it's important for you, the parent, to know exactly what the service opportunities are going to be, who we're going with, so you can be on the same page and hopefully enthusiastically encourage your kids to join us this week as we go to Dyer, Indiana for our mission trip. But before I explain the details of the trip and the opportunities we're going to have, I just want to explain how this trip came to be. I'm really hoping that we're going to be able to revisit Compton, hopefully next year or the year after, just with rising flight prices and with COVID restrictions still in place in some parts, and especially the parts we'd be going to in California. It would be a lot of work and a lot of resources for very minimal output in terms of the ministry that we would be able to do. So as soon as hopefully things open up a little bit there, and as soon as maybe prices go down on flights, it might be a trip that we'd be able to do. But at this point, it would be looking something close like $1,200 to $1,300 per student, which just, yeah, for what we'd be able to do, it's not going to work. But the reason that we go to Compton is because that was a church that I was really closely affiliated with when I worked in California. I trust them. I know the ministry they're doing. They're good people. And luckily, this church, Faith Church in Dyer, Indiana, has one of the pastors there. His name is Dave Nearpass. Dave and I worked together at our church in California. I was an intern under him, and he was the high school youth pastor, so he had my job there. Me and him worked together for years. One of the best working relationships I've ever had. Dave is just one of the coolest people you'll ever meet. And then additionally, there is a student, or he's not a student, he's a man now. His name is Keenan Coops. I met Keenan when I became his small group leader when I worked at middle school ministry at my last church. And me and him have kept in very close contact ever since then. And now he actually moved to Indiana to work with Dave. Keenan was one of the contacts on our Compton mission trips, and he's going to be the primary contact on this trip. So just two really awesome people. Can't say enough about them. They've got a lot of my respect and a lot of my trust, and so hopefully that's good news for you to hear as well. We're going to be going to Faith Church in Dyer, Indiana. Don't know what you know about Faith. You can certainly check out their website, but they're a really big church. They actually became the parent church to a lot of different RCA churches that were looking for a new home church with all the difficulties that were happening in their denomination. So they've grown pretty significantly over the last couple of years. And they're actually located like pretty much on the exact state line of Illinois and Indiana. We would be driving through Illinois, and then as soon as we get into the parking lot of Faith Church, that is Indiana. So it's really interesting. But they live right next to a village called Sauk Village. It's a very, very poor neighborhood. A lot of poverty, a lot of need. It's not the prettiest place to drive around, but there's still some really awesome things happening there. And there's also, we're surrounded by Chicago. This is, as much as this is an Indiana trip, this is also a Chicago mission trip, and I'll explain that a little bit later. But we're going to be going there from Sunday, July 17 to Sunday, July 24. On the 17th, we will go to church together as a team at 9:30 a.m. We'll probably be prayed for, commissioned, and then we'll head out after the service. It's about a 2.5-hour drive. And then the following Sunday, the 24th, we'll go to church at Faith Church, and then we'll head out as soon as that service is over, grab lunch, be home hopefully before 3 p.m. So that's the plan. Those are the dates. If there is any issues with those dates, or if it's like, man, my kid really wants to go, just talk to me. There can always be flexibility, and this is the date that we picked because the students had communicated this is the one that works best for them. If they got it wrong on that, please let me know because there's still some flexibility, but for right now we're thinking those are the set in stone dates. So when we get there, what are we going to be doing? First and foremost, we're going to be working with Chicagoland Prison Outreach. This is a relationship that Faith Church has built and has sustained, and I can't say enough cool things about it. I'm going to put a picture of their website up here in a second. I want you to really want to encourage you to go check the website out. But just while I've got you, I'll just let you know what their outreach missions, or what their mission statement is. They exist to show God's love to offenders and their families by teaching the gospel, providing educational programs, biblical mentoring, and equipping them to live productive, godly lives. And their vision is that they envision a world where offenders make a lifelong commitment to Christ and become leaders in their community and God's kingdom. And so what they do primarily is they work with people who've just recently been released from jail. And these are people who are trying to get their life not just on track, but right with Christ as well. And so one of the things that Keenan does there, and one of the ways that we'll be helping the most, is he is someone who teaches recently released convicts woodworking skills, welding. They try and make sure they get certifications so that they can actually get a job afterwards. But they also provide a lot of biblical counseling, trauma counseling, and just a lot of really good life skills. And so it's a really, really cool ministry. Again, please do check out their website. Just the things that God is doing through that is just amazing, and we want to support it in any way that we can. And one of the ways we can do that is in those woodworking shops and in those welding shops, there's a lot of work that still needs to be done to update the facility. So we'll be working in there. There's some painting projects that need to be done, some murals that we actually might be able to paint for the people that are going to be using this nonprofit program, and then there's just some gardening and some site maintenance. It's a really cool place, but it's not the prettiest place in the world, and so any way that we can beautify it a little bit in a pretty rough neighborhood is a good thing for us to do. So that'll be our primary service. Connection is through the Chicagoland Prison Outreach, so please do check it out with the website that I showed you on the screen there. Secondly, in Sauk Village and in the surrounding Chicago area, they're connected with a ministry that does a lot of urban farming. There's not very much sustainable food sources in Sauk Village in some of these communities. In fact, one of the funniest stories I heard in this entire process was that McDonald's, who has restaurants everywhere, Sauk Village was such an undesirable location that they planted one and then moved it shortly. So yeah, it's just it's a huge food desert, and a lot of people don't have good access to good quality food. And so there are these little farms all across Sauk Village that this ministry is involved with, and they teach the people how to do some farming, how to grow food. And so one of the ways that we're going to be helping is by working on the farm with them, getting our hands dirty. It'll be a lot of fun, moving lots of soil, hopefully participating in some after-school programs that those urban farms offer, and again making some relationships. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I got to see a bunch of the farms, and they're just it's really cool what they're doing. And then lastly, there's some school relationships. They're really closely connected to a couple of middle schools in the area, and we've been told that we might be able to paint some murals on those schools. That's what we used to do a lot with in my old church with Keenan and Dave. We would create these huge murals where 40 people were working on it, and we'd get it done in a day, but we'd paint the whole side of a middle school building. We might not be able to do something that crazy, but we might be able to serve them in some small way, create a beautiful picture that will be able to last for a long time for those people. So it's just always a fun project. There's some teacher spaces that need to be renovated to be able to love and serve them well, and there's also just some opportunities again for some tutoring, some after school programs where we might be able to step in and assist, and just to, again, be able to create some relationships with some of the kids in the town. So those are going to be our primary service opportunities, but there's also going to be some other things that are happening during the trip that, again, I think would be of interest to you and to your students. First and foremost, I asked if we could be hosted by some families in the church for dinners. Being able to have a meal together, get to know some people, ask them about their lives, play some bags in the backyard. If someone has a pool, that would be awesome. Stuff like that. So we want to make sure that we're building into relationship of the people that are hosting us. There might be some prayer drives and some prayer walks where we get to know a little bit about the area, talk to some of the other local ministry leaders, and just see what God is up to in that area. And then we'll probably have an off day to downtown Chicago, just be able to have fun. Don't worry, I won't let them go off on their own. We'll walk together as a group. There's some fun activities that we could also take advantage of. I know there's things like whirly ball out there that they don't have in Grand Rapids. So yeah, we can still also have some fun. And so it's going to be a lot of play, a lot of work, and maybe not so much rest, but that's all right. Lodging at this point is to be determined. The really nice part is by not having to spend so much money to fly to California or really anywhere else, we're going to save a lot of money on this trip. It would be ideal if someone from the church could host our team, but depending on how many, that might not be something that's super feasible. There's some connections I'm trying to talk to people here at Hillside about that actually have connections with faith that we might be able to take advantage of. But because we're also saving a lot of money, we might just end up renting an Airbnb and doing that. But I'll let you know what details emerge from that. But just the last couple comments is we do need to have our team in place by the end of May, beginning of June. I'm actually going to be traveling to Boston on June 6th. for 12 days, and I would like to have our team well in place, hopefully, but for sure no later in place before I leave for that trip. And so really June 5 is going to be the cutoff, and that still makes me feel a little nervous, to be pretty honest. But again, we don't have to worry about flights. Fundraising is going to be minimum, again, because the cost will be so low overall for this trip. But we do need to have our team in place by then. And one of the things is if we're not able to get at least 10 students, this might be something. And if we have 9, maybe that'll be a fine number and we'll be okay. But we might open this up to families. So if you're a parent that's saying, I actually would like to go on a mission trip with my kid, probably wouldn't be a leader per se, but you get to have a good spiritual serving experience with your child. We might also open it up to some of the young adults over the last couple of years who have not had the opportunity to do some mission work because of COVID and the challenges that has presented. But yeah, so there's still some flexibility in that as well, but man, would love to get at least 10 students that would be willing to go on this trip. And so please do talk to your student about this, encourage them. And from youth pastor to parent, one thing I can tell you is the momentum of our ministry year, really depends on these trips. And things like the retreat, and the details for that will be in the email as well. But especially these mission trips, when we don't have these opportunities, you can feel it during the year. These are crucial for our community development. And so, if one of the lines you want to use with your students is, hey, if you want youth group to be good this year, or the programming, these are some of the opportunities that we get to take advantage of that actually contribute to the overall benefit and quality of our ministry year, starting in September going through May. These trips are crucial for that. So please do encourage your students to come. Encourage them to even bring friends if they would like to. No issues there. And then last thing, as a parent of now 2 young girls, I know we'll be in Chicago, and that might cause you a little bit of concern, but I promise you would not be taking your kids anywhere unsafe if I thought that there was a possibility that we could be in any intentional danger. The people that we are working with have established some really, really good relationships, people in Chicago, and I have been assured that we are probably in some of the safest hands that we can possibly be. But just as a dad of 2 young girls, if you got any questions or concerns, please do let me know. I want to make sure that I'm respecting that. But yeah, so that's the information I have for you. I will if there's more information that comes my way, I'll make sure I get it to you. But again, please do have a serious conversation. Consider, reflect, and pray on whether or not this is an opportunity your student could take advantage of. We would just love to have them be a part of this. So, let me know if you have any questions. Would love to field all questions, feedback, and concerns. But again, hopefully we can get at least 10, and certainly hopefully more than that. So God bless and have a great day.